The following podcast is sponsored by Sam Sauce. Thick pours and ready to spice up your life. Glory or Death Records, where they defend the faith pretty much daily. And Desert Records, where it is time to enter the desert. And now, on with the show.
I think that the music in hell for eternity be some of this rock music with all its vulgarities and all of its sexual innuendos. And here they were stripping themselves, the fella running around in a little G-string. It reminds me of the wild man of Gadara in Mark chapter 5 who was possessed of a demon running around in the graveyard.
This is Tony from Deserts of Mars. You're listening to the Doom Tune, home of the awesome and the heavy and the doom.
This is the Doomtombpodcast, a podcast for all things stoner, doom, and sludge. And today, a lot of fuzz. We're going to be talking with messengers between life and death, the physical and spiritual world. Truly, Fuzz Guardians. They have a brand new release. Just came out September 30th of 2021. We are going to go up and down each and every track and talk about them all. They are the Buzzards of Fuzz. Let's hear the interview right now. We're going to go to Atlanta, Georgia today for the Buzzards of Fuzz. I've got two of the gentlemen in the band. I've got Van and Ben, or Benjamin. Now, this is kind of interesting to me because I was sitting out on my porch and I'm going over music and I'm listening, and Ben sends me some stuff. He says, "Hey, take a listen to this. Tell me what you think. Let me know." I was like, "Damn, man, I'm loving this. We got to talk." And I it was kind of late where I was, and it was even later over by him. He's got a 3-hour difference, and I'm like, "Well, shit, I'm not doing anything. Let's talk." And wouldn't you know it, like we talked, and I went from the porch. I went walking to my dog for like an extended walk. And we just had this great conversation, and I'm like, damn it, man, I wish we recorded that. But we have those gentlemen right now, and we're going to talk about all things about the Buzzards of Fuzz. Gentlemen, how are you today?
Very well. Thanks for having us, Chris.
Yeah, doing good, man.
Now, just so everybody knows the voices, could you please introduce yourselves and what you play?
Absolutely. This is Van from the Buzzards of Fuzz. I sing and I play guitar.
And my name is Ben David Al from the Buzzards of Fuzz, as you now have heard. And I play guitar and sing. We both are responsible for writing music, along with our other friend, Charles.
Now, I've got this piece on Bandcamp, and it says, "Messengers between life and death. The physical and the spiritual world, Fuzz Guardians." Is that the credo for the Buzzards of Fuzz?
Damn right. It's a big part of what we do. I think that it's important to respect and guard the fuzz and make sure that you keep it proper at all times.
The fuzz is essential, my friend. Now, we've got a few things to talk about, and we've got this brand new full-length release. There's a video game that you guys have, and also this festival. Now, I apologize. This is going to be on later than the actual festival, but can you go over a little bit about that and who you have on, and what are your plans for the next one?
Yeah, absolutely. I'll talk about it in past tense.
I'm going to say, first off, it was amazing. The lighting was killer.
Such a good night. I wish you could have been there, bud.
First off, I got to say, guys, it was kind of loud, but that's okay. I'm good with that.
That's our thing.
Yeah, there was plenty to drink and plenty of good times had by all. Smoke machines, huge heavy riffs, thunderous drums. I mean, really, what else can you tell me, sir?
Ramblers set was amazing. They headlined night 2. Night 1 was Thumb and the Sleaze. Also, just a fantastic set.
Are you kidding me?
No, not at all.
Because I've been following them and I missed them. Like, I think they were here maybe before everything kind of shut down. And I wanted to see Thelma and the Sleaze. They played at a place called the Timeout Lounge, I believe. And unfortunately, I missed them. But I really wanted to check them out. Have you seen them live?
Yeah, we played with them last time they rolled through town. And it was a fantastic time. They're a great band. They really rip.
So who else is on this current bill that we missed that was amazing?
So it's 2 nights of Peace, Love, and Fuzz in Atlanta, or it was, and they were amazing nights. It's outdoors at a place called Boggs Social and Supply, which is on the west side. Essentially we've got this full area outdoors where we've invited a bunch of bands that we dig, that we feel represent the best in stoner, fuzz, punk, around that area. And, it was a fantastic time. The first night is Thelma and the Sleaze, Phantomin, a skate punk band called Looney, this band called Turbo Gato. They're it's kind of like Cramps, but about their cats.
Nice. I was going to ask you when you said that. I was like, "Is it Gato? Is that it? Gato?"
Yeah, it's
okay.
They're so good. It's a husband-wife team, and they're just amazing. I enjoy everything they do. Their videos are incredible if you look them up. And then Nominaut, who are you familiar with Nominaut?
I have, yeah, I do know.
Okay,
yes.
So they've got like a giant gnome that smokes and speaks for them while they do this incredible light show, and that's all on night 1. That's the first night.
I'm really liking this so far. So, who else rocked the Fuzz Fest here? Who else?
The second night is this band called Rambler. Really, really, I don't know, what would you call Rambler? It's like
they're quintessential punk in like the old terms of punk, like even more punk than Sex Pistols. If you could get more punk.
Sure.
Yeah. Buzzards are playing. The Buzzards of Fuzz will be playing as well. Twin Criminal, which is really good kind of fuzzed out math rock. Somewhere between like Millionaire and Queens of the Stone Age, I'd say.
Right.
Small. It's Small is fronted by a comedian that's local here to Atlanta, and she's incredibly funny and also really talented. It kind of falls more on the grunge side of things, but like a heavy grunge band. And then Hot Ram.
Hot Ram. Yeah, I know Hot Ram well. Yeah.
You know them? Okay, yeah, they'll be playing as well. So
they were one of the, like, when you first start out, whether it's for the band or whether it's for the podcast or something, you always remember your first followers. And Hot Ram was one of the people that hopped on board. So, kudos to them.
Oh, really?
Yeah, man.
That's awesome.
Yeah, Billy's a good friend. I actually designed some of their logos and did the CD artwork layouts for him and stuff.
It's perfect, man.
Good buds. Yeah.
And now as I'm looking,
we mentioned the fill-ins.
Oh, I'm sorry. I completely forgot the fill-ins. They're some great. I don't want to say glam rock, like really well polished punk
nice.
From the Carolinas.
Yeah, it's very cutting. They're very tight. It's really nice. They're from North Carolina. Turbo got us from South Carolina, so we're kind of like pulling from Southeastern influences. And then another band I think that we forgot to mention was Phantomin, which is one of our premier local bands. I'm just totally in love with them. Yeah, I'm so happy to have them on the festival. They're on the first night.
Now, I know this show was incredible. I can only imagine. And now we're looking forward to, I hate to say this, but the next one. Do you have any plans for the next one yet?
We have a one-off in December. We're going down to Savannah. I don't know if you know Order of the Owl.
I do not. Enlighten
If
me,
you're
sir.
not familiar, it's members of Zoroaster. They're Atlanta heavies. They're a big deal here, and probably anywhere they go. They're one of the loudest. I think between them and Sleep, their shows are. It's just that like pummeling.
Sure.
Yeah, that
It's
feeling.
very similar to Sleep and They crush very hard. I think it's sort of perfect right up the doom tomb kind of
Yeah,
alley.
I think
for
you
sure.
dig them a lot. But we'll be in Savannah with them in December 18th at El Rocco Lounge.
Well, it sounds like something else I have to put in the Bandcamp wish list, much like Turbo Gatto. And I'm looking at it right now. That album name, Paw Power, fucking love it.
It's so good.
And I mean, come on.
Yeah.
Lucifer, really? Catnip,
I'm telling
Kitty
you.
Pizza Party, Friskies, Tigers from Hell. I don't want to go to the
Watching them on
vet.
stage, there's this kind of pure love vibe that just comes off. It's rare that you see a couple play together. So it's simpatico.
Yeah, it's about it.
Yeah.
And it's so fun too. Like when they host us in their city, a lot of times we've been playing this bar called Art Bar. They're over in Columbia, South Carolina,
Right.
and it's filled with robots, like all these sort of Jetson style robots on the side.
Right.
It's got just a nice vibe to it, and yeah, everyone parties hard, and there's like good ramen down the street, but you can also get a slice. It's like it's a cool vibe to their town. They've always been so hospitable to us, and it's nice to be able to like welcome them into Atlanta
Right.
multiple times, especially on like a larger show where we know they're going to get the types of fans and listeners that they're looking for, and we can really help them out.
Absolutely. And, you got big riffs and you got food. I mean, come on. I think the only other thing is drink, but I think that's easily finding. You can find that very easily if I can get my words out.
Yeah, actually, I was just working on sponsors for the festival, so everything's kind of come together pretty nicely. Cathead Vodka was sponsoring. Had a good friend over there, Ross, who helped me play some drinks for the general public and a special cocktail kind of set up. And then PBR helped us out. They just sent over 730 racks. So I did the math earlier. It's about 220 beers, and there's 17 beers per band. So enough to at least get everyone a good little buzz.
Sounds like I might have to get PBR to do some Planet Mammoth stuff. Jeez.
Yeah, they've all been very good to us. So we definitely have that on lock. Yeah, we have some fun liquor beer sponsors.
Right on, man. Hey, I tell you what. Do you mind if we start talking about the latest release?
Not at all.
Okay. So we've got this new release. I've heard a few singles. What is the official title of this latest full length, and when is it coming out?
So it actually comes out 33 minutes ago. It's called The Buzzards of Fuzz, by the Buzzards of Fuzz in the tradition of Sabbath.
I mean, it's a catchy title. I like it.
Yeah, it's easy to remember. I guess it's out now.
We discussed, we're like, do we go with a record name or something else? And we're like, the Buzzards of Fuzz just says so much. And we of course want to have, and are working on the second record and everything else and have a title there and that kind of thing, and the third and on. But we just really wanted to open with a like, this is the Buzzards of Fuzz, like huge in your face. Like, here's the name, don't forget it. This is us. It's very Zeppelin, Sabbath. Yeah. That's where the idea came from. Like, let's just put it out there.
Yeah, perfect. Now, I got to admit, it's actually kind of odd for me to look at you two without the masks on. And I didn't know what I was going to expect. If you got it, man, bring it out, dude. Because I'm so used to it now. Do you? And it's a strange question, but do you play with that on stage?
It's not a strange question. We don't. I don't think I could breathe in it. Our drummer Chuck, a few times has worn it on stage, just I think to see if he could. I'm sure it started off as a dare, but no, we just come as ourselves. I would love to get to a point where there's some sort of weird Chuck E. Cheese-esque like animatronics suit, but it's just it's hot. Like you gotta sing and breathe and move around, and our shows are pretty energy filled. I feel like we'd pass out.
Well, I know that
it would be hard.
I know Chuck E. Cheese is going through some hard times. Maybe the replacement for what is that bear thing in Disney? Some jamboree or something?
Yeah, I know exactly what you're talking about.
Maybe
Splash Mountain or whatever. Yeah.
Yeah, maybe the Buzzards. I mean, Buzzards are cute. They're affable. I mean, Heckle and Jekyll, lovely little magpies and such. Maybe you could get a deal with Orlando or California, but I would prefer the Orlando one if you could. And I look, I'm imagining. I got this right now, man. I'm picturing Pixar. I'm picturing you got the soundtrack, and you own all that. So I mean, you're bankrolling right now. This is what I see.
I like the way you think.
Yeah, I would love to see that. I mean, we already did a video game, so why would we not? Go
absolutely.
to the next.
It's time.
Disney Plus special.
Disney. Oh, now that would be good.
I mean,
I'm seeing what you're doing. Like maybe, you could. Yeah, there's a lot. Maybe you could take a buzzard, put some mouse ears on them. I don't know. I'm trying to.
Before this conversation too, there was talks from friends that were like, you got to do Buzzards on Broadway.
Ooh.
So to be fair, this record, it started off as a space rock opera. There were many more songs than what made it on the record, and we peeled it back to something that we think is digestible to people.
Sure. I got you.
But we do have a compendium following that'll have kind of the in-betweens, and you can kind of insert and make it a full story in the proper order later.
Nice.
So when we discussed that, there was kind of an idea tossed out of like, well, there's like a real story here, and you could do maybe something bigger if people are interested.
Yeah, and it was dubbed, so it's a space rock opera, but it's the Spokra, right?
I like that.
Yeah, and we got all those little Easter eggs in there. So we pulled together what we thought would be the strongest opening record, but it's also kind of cool because it is all space themed. There is a whole narrative here, and as things start to sort of fall into place and come out later, then people can piece together the story.
Well, let's talk about what I've heard so far. And I want to know where these songs come in on the album and the artwork as well. And I'd like to start everything off with Lonely in Space.
So Lonely in Space is actually the oldest song that we had, and it kind of inspired the rest of it. But it was just this kind of super caveman riff, not a ton of vocals. We played it, Ben and Charles and myself have played in a number of bands together over the years in different formations, and that was always a riff that we came back to, and we would just make, the silly kind of small lines, but it was always a jam.
Right.
And if you were playing with somebody and you needed something at the end of the show that went on 4 minutes or 20 minutes, this was always revolving. It was in our heads, and we could do it. We can jam on it. We can go anywhere. And we would play these games where we would try and get so far out that you couldn't even remember what we were playing, and then come back to it hard. Right. And I mean, you'd see people in the crowd go like, "Wait, what the fuck? It's back!" It really just, I think it was kind of like our goal to like make something that was entirely malleable, and that we could just play with in any place. And so we jammed it so many damn times that it seemed fitting to be the first release from this record, but the last song on the record.
Now, I'm curious because you say you can extend this as long as you want, come back around, weave in and out. When did you know that you all had the right chemistry? Like you like, you know what? I can almost feel what this guy is feeling right now, and you just vibe off each other. And was there a specific moment, like maybe at a practice or something, when that actually hit, or was it when you finally hit the stage? Or
so Ben and Chuck, they played together they grew up together. Our current bass player, it's kind of a funny story, but he and I grew up together separately, and hadn't seen him in years, and he recently moved back from Chicago and kind of joined up with us.
right?
But Charles and Ben, they played together growing up, and I think they already had that. I mean, they were already established, players together. And I just kind of came in and was like, hey, they're really the more technical people. I think that they've always made it easy for me to do. I can kind of emote and do whatever, run off to wherever I want, and they're always right there with me or a step ahead because they know how to do those things. So for me, it was always there, but I don't know about you guys.
Yeah, I mean, it felt very intrinsic and organic when we first started playing together. I've been playing this song for 14 years, and been
That
playing
can't be right.
with Dan and Charles. Yeah, unfortunately, I'm dating us. But
You started playing it when you were 8.
Yeah, that sounds right.
Yeah, let's go with that.
Yeah, that sounds good.
18 was about the same, right?
Sure. Got an 8.
So, yeah, no, I very much felt the same way. I think that we all kind of grew together. We started jamming together in sort of that free format anyways. In a way, it's the most primordial representation of that first meeting of some people just getting in a room and trying to make noises that are comprehensible together.
Right. That makes total sense. Now, Lonely in Space, does it lend itself now to everything that's gone on in the past, whatever, year and a half now? Does this, and does the artwork, and maybe you could explain a little bit about this artwork and who created it?
Sure. Z, we call him Z.
Yeah, his name is Zulfa. And he is from Indonesia.
Okay.
Actually, I found him because he had done some artwork for Mondo Generator.
Yeah.
And I had gotten to play with Nickel out at Rancho de la Luna a while back, as well as at Muddy Roots Festival. And so
Nice.
I had sort of been hip to like some of the artwork and that kind of stuff. And so, Zulfajiri is his name, Mulana Budianto.
Okay.
But you did that just right.
Yeah, it's a mouthful of a name. Anyways, he's a fantastic Indonesian artist. Yeah, I'm sure I butchered his name and Z, I'm sorry. But he is just very responsive, incredible turnaround time actually on these pieces.
Right.
And he's done more than just this cover for us. But it was a real pleasure to work with him because I felt like, along with the other bands that he has worked for, his style is exactly what we're going for. He's sort of within this genre, and to me, it speaks more to like you had mentioned. I think before we started recording that it was sort of like you found your tribe, right? You found your group of people and bands that you want to be with. and it's finding that tribe. Here's someone that's across the world, literally halfway across the world, that's part of our same tribe and that's here to help us. And when we're floating around and just one giant ball of blue, and you have something like Lonely in Space, not just blue balls, but we're kind of piecing it together, connection to connection, from Comet to Shooting Star, however you will. But it's just really nice to have had that connection, have him work on it.
Yeah, it's funny when you have certain people in the scene, if you will, that when you see that work, like, it's their work. Like I interviewed a band a while ago called Chronic Lethargy, and I believe it's the same artist, and also I think he did work with Foster Mother, which is based out of Texas. So I mean, it's great company, and his work is amazing. I got to remind myself. I gotta write a note to put his name in the show notes, and hopefully maybe he can get some more work that way.
Yeah.
Now, okay, so we're going to move to the second single, and that is Desert Drive-In, No Radio.
It's the third track on the record. It's kind of a interesting story. I moved. My folks were in the Air Force, so we kind of lived all over. And I didn't live in Atlanta for a long time, but my grandmother was here, and she was buried here. And it kind of hit me after moving back here that she lived pretty close by. So in any case, I asked my mom and ended up going to visit her grave. When I got there, the flowers were kind of ratty. So I went across town to get some more anyway. I got McDonald's and my drink linked into the radio. And it shorted my radio. So it was a really hot Georgia day, and I was driving stuck in Atlanta traffic, just trying to go back in silence now.
Oh, great.
And all I had was my turn signal and whatever songs were in my head. So I kind of came up with this whole, kind of idea about, driving through the desert with no radio.
Right. It absolutely fits perfectly. Wow, that's a very interesting take on how to create a song. But I guess inspiration comes in the weirdest of places sometimes.
I think when you have a weird, for me, satire is a lot of everything, and those weird moments where you're like, well, this just isn't normal, is it? I'm already doing a sad thing. Do you have to make it sadder and quieter?
Yes. Nothing says sadness. Oh, of course, a loved one, and also when the radio doesn't work.
Hey, this is Jake from Gypsy Bird and Burn Ritual, and you're listening to the Doom Tomb.
There are times in your life when you think, I gotta spice things up. And I'm not talking about a Spice Girls reunion. I'm talking about Sam's House. Yes. With funky garlic. Now, what is that? We got fermented orange habaneros and garlic with a blend of vinegars. This is handcrafted in Austin, Minnesota by born, raised, and local chef S.T. Hastings. It's all natural, vegan, gluten-free, and no added fillers, with an emphasis on sustainability. Orders over $50, you get free shipping. There's a 10% code in the show notes. Hit them up, and if funky garlic's not your taste, we got Piña de Nata, Repality, Smokey J, Taiga Style, Tango Style, and Trop Nero. head over to samsahouse.com. The link is in the show notes. Now, you have this picture, it's more of a picture, I guess, an artwork. I don't know.
It is a picture, yeah.
But we've got the buzzards here, and what are we doing? Are we cruising in the desert? Are we more going through space? Where are we?
So this record, we kind of felt like we started off in kind of like a desert rock type sound, and where we ended up was more of like a space rock thing.
Right.
So the rear view was the desert. The going forward was the space.
Interesting.
And actually, the multi-talent. This guy has no right being this talented, but the guy who took that photo, Christopher Sampson, also engineered and recorded our record.
Oh, no kidding.
He is just multi-talented. Records. He's worked with like the B-52s and the coat hangers and all sorts of. He's got a list, but he, for whatever reason, is kind enough to take pity on us and work with us.
Hey, you know what? He knows talent, and that's it. Plain and simple. Okay, so we got Lonely in Space. We got Desert Driving. So that's 2 of the tracks. How many tracks are on the latest release? And can you tell me a little bit about the other ones and what they're about and the concepts and how they were created?
Yeah, absolutely. There's 11 tracks total. 2 of those are actually segues between movements. They essentially link songs together.
Right.
So there's 9 that are just full songs with, so we started these songs 4 years ago, the recording process of these songs. We went out and Chris Sampson was kind enough to bring his rig to a family friend's home. And we went out into the woods for a few days and recorded 15 songs. Right. And we called them the 9 plus the 2 segues that ended up on the record. The first song is called Designer Recliner. I don't know that you want to go through all of these, but is there? I do, and I want. Is that the Lazy Boy edit or what is it? Designer Recliner has been singing. He's starts the record off. It's part of a spider-themed trilogy. In the record, this is gonna get real nerdy, bud.
Please look. Do you? Okay, dude. I don't know if you know this, but when I talk to be on and off, it's there's a lot of D&D talk, there's a lot of sci-fi talk, and that's amazing because some people, and I get into it a little bit, but there's some stuff where there's so much going on and so much technical about the certain sci-fi that I'm like I am completely lost, and I got to watch this movie a couple times just to grasp what's going on. So when you can rattle it off and tell me everything about it, it just makes you all the more smarter in my book.
Oh yeah, right on. Yeah, it's kind of out there. I don't know. I like a certain amount of anonymity and vagaries, so that people kind of choose their own path when they listen to things.
Sure.
But I will say there are some obvious spiders from Mars themes, and then also Hitchhiker's Guide stuff thrown in there, and just the things that kind of revolve around our own worlds that kind of we wink at, and bring into our own sort of crazy space odyssey story.
Nice.
That you can kind of take or leave. I like to do things in a way that it's not overpowering.
Gotcha.
So that if you look for it and you hear something, it's probably there. But if you don't hear that, that's okay too. It's just a fun song.
All right. Now, what can you tell me about the next track?
On the record is Desert Driving, as we sort of covered. And then we move into As They Fly Away, which is a very Van centric tune, so I think I kind of need you to talk about
Right.
sort of.
It's a lot of about how fleeting things can be.
Sure.
There's a kind of theme of perpetual loss on this record, but I also think that loss is based in a real place of, embracing pain sometimes. Sometimes you kind of, like, if you grit your teeth and taste a little blood, it's at least satisfying to just to know that you're feeling it. You didn't want it, but you're feeling it.
What is it like? Something like the pain shows you that you're still alive.
Yeah, essentially. And that you should enjoy it while you can, because the next thing will be even less. Like, there's no I think that you should live every second of it as hard as you can, because this is turning into a live, laugh, love. Damn it.
I'm going to say no, sir. What I am going to say is it's very basic. You can dream and you can die with dreams, or you can die with memories. What do you want? I'd much rather die with a memory than I coulda, woulda, shoulda. And
Absolutely.
You take the chance. You get at bat. Sometimes you strike out. Sometimes you hit that home run. You never know.
Sure.
And that's what it's all about, really.
I mean, well, part of it too is that it's already a home run if it is to you.
Yeah.
If you're doing what you want to do, then you don't really need to look to anybody for, validation.
Absolutely, man. Now, if we move forward, what can you tell me about the next track?
Yeah, so up next is Tarantula. It's part of that spider trilogy that we talked about earlier. It's sort of the whole story that comes from these cactonauts that blast off. They're sort of protectors of space, and the spiders are sort of our bad guys here, our antagonists.
Galactic arachnids.
Yeah, they are galactic arachnids, and they
Oh, please! You don't have to sing that, do you?
We took that song out.
There's an amazing song that's super cool. We can't wait to release it. It didn't come out on this portion of it. It's called segueing away from Tarantula, but it's called Moon Disaster. And we definitely fit some galactic arachnid into the lyrics, because how could we not?
I mean, it's great. Even as you're saying it, it sounds hard to pronounce.
But anyways, yeah, it's kind of part of that, and it calls in, and even without the full 15 songs, we kind of crafted its own narrative through this. But it's a tune that's very interesting to me, because we've been playing it a very long time. We've been playing it at least 5 years now, I think. And it's been recorded multiple times. We've videoed it in different lofts around downtown Atlanta. It's just come up a bunch, and to finally hear it in sort of its final form,
Right.
It's evolved over time, is very cool for me, at least on this record. Yeah, and it's just sort of getting spun into this web and
Perfect.
wrapped in and stuck in, and it's kind of perfect for once you're in the middle of the record, then you're in the web, we've got you now.
Ooh, yeah. And as long as it's not a web of lies, I'm not a fan of the lying.
Only truthful
Yeah.
webs.
Only yes. Now, here's a question: how big are the spiders?
In my head, they were big. They were bigger than humans big. Like alien. We haven't drawn these things out, but
Yeah, so in my head too. So there's sort of the first, going back to the first time talking about the other spider song, and designer Recliner is this Silk Thread Killer, who is this king of Tarantula, and I was sort of imagining him. Yeah, exactly, a tarantula. And going back to Tarantula, so I was imagining him as being this enormous spider overlord that's as big as a castle, but also has lived for just millennia, and is part cybernetic frames, and it's like this half cyborg, half still living creature that has all of these minions at its disposal and that kind of thing, and it's like other spider overlords. And so, going back to Tarantula and the idea that, like, these giant space spiders that are going over and like conquering other planets and sucking the life force out of them.
Can you see this as a comic book?
Yeah, we did one of the covers that Z did for us was actually like a Pulp Fiction type magazine,
Sure.
It was from an old Ace comic that the cover was inspired by, and then we had given him that reference, and we were like, we really want you to do like this with it, like what if there's reflections of these giant spiders and this guy's goggles and stuff, and he's like, oh shit, I gotta fight this motherfucker now. Excuse me. But you're like, whoa, what? Like, so it was definitely that kind of thing, and I can totally see going into the full graphic novel with as much graphic content as you can handle.
And now Netflix series, yes or no?
Oh yeah, I mean, if Disney Plus says no.
Yeah, I understand. I know. Believe me, I know you're in talks. What's the? You got to do it to certain levels, but you're optioning right now.
Yeah,
they were like gonna go with like Lilo and Stitch 5 or this movie
or Buzzards.
Oh, would the only thing you wouldn't want to have like the Buzzards and was it the Rescuers? Because I don't
Down Under.
I don't think they're gonna. I don't think the Rescuers would last. I think the Buzzards are gonna take them out.
As long as they're Down Under, will hang.
I was kind of hoping it would become like the Buzzards of Fuzzy Wuzzy, and then like he shows up, but he's a super haggard, and he's just sort of this alcoholic bear.
DuckTales. We hang out with DuckTales.
Oh yeah, of course. Any other birds?
Yeah.
Obviously.
Well, I mean, yeah. That's. I think that's. That would work actually pretty well. Yeah, foul. That's not foul. Yeah.
Fowls. Yeah.
See, there you go. That's the name. Boom. You did it. All right. I love that. Thank you. Or it could be something on the next release because I know you got some leftover material that we're going to talk about. But can we talk about the next track?
Yeah, I'd be happy to. It's actually one that I wrote. It's called All in Your Head.
Okay, go ahead. Talk to me about it.
So this is a tune that I began writing because we just kind of felt blocked out of certain areas of the music scene, and a lot of that's just due to the work that you put into it, and how you begin to learn certain courtesies and pageantry and that type of stuff. But yeah, it was very much kind of based in that, and originally I kind of wrote it from this place of like I'm very upset with the external world, and then later I revised it to be more like it's us like meeting the need of the world, and in recognizing that there's so many things that you don't have control over, and a lot of our problems we begin to externalize, and they're all in our heads.
Indeed they are, sir. Indeed they are. I like that, man. You're going over it and getting deep. I like it. I like it a lot.
Yeah, it got kind of philosophical. It came out of sort of a rage moment that was much more surface level, and as it sat for a while and simmered, I got to kind of infuse it with that 24-hour smoke rub deal.
What were you? Were you smoking something? What were smoking some meat? What's going on?
the just mostly carrion.
Carrion. I don't.
Yeah,
that's what buzzards eat.
Oh, dude. All right. Thank you. All right. Please. Yeah. Please get out the paddle. Bend me over, swap me a few times for not understanding.
Other roadkill. Anything you can pit roast.
Critters.
Yeah, I guess. I mean,
Wow, brontosaurus ribs.
oh, well, I look, hey, I'd be careful about them because they'll tip your car over. That's what I've seen.
Yeah, that's what I heard.
I heard that too. But other times, the pterodactyls and the Flintstones, I feel like, are super helpful. Don't they usually? Then they fly on them too. They're like they're airplanes.
I think it's pronounced pterodactyl.
I think they have multiple uses. If I'm not mistaken, I don't know. I'm not sure if it's the pterodactyl or another bird that is actually a record player. Yeah, it's the arm.
Oh right, yeah.
Needle nose.
Multiple uses as long as like as the record's playing, he lifts up for a second, he looks at the camera and says, it's a living. And then like, how much did he get paid? I don't think he's getting paid. I think there's some kind of indentured servitude or something happening that I'm not aware of. Whatever it is, I really don't like it. And the one that bothers me is got to be the toilet, because I don't know what animal. Maybe like a pelican. And I'm not trying to disrespect birds because I know, please, aviary. But like if one of those pelicans has to be a toilet, that's going to be, I mean, come on, really? Do we have to do that?
You would never see a buzzard behave that way.
There is a majesty to a buzzard. I'll give you that, sir. And I think we're going to go forward on this. What else? What can you tell me about the next track?
It is mostly harmless.
Mostly harmless. Okay.
Yeah.
What can you tell me about it?
Douglas Adams worship. Just some Hitchhiker's Guide. The only entry for the planet Earth in the Hitchhiker's Guide was mostly harmless.
Gotcha. Wow, I gotta revisit that movie. I haven't seen it in quite a long time.
The books are even better if you have the time.
Okay.
The movie's great. Douglas Adams did a really interesting thing in that every iteration of it was different. So the books were different than the radio show, were different from the movie or the TV show. He just kind of rewrote things and made it interesting. And I know he died in the making of that Hitchhiker's Guide movie was in production hell for like 20 years.
Oh, wow.
It was originally supposed to be made with almost the entire cast of Ghostbusters. And then they came up with Ghostbusters instead.
There you go.
That's how far back that's the one we got in like the early 2000s or whatever it is. Yeah.
Wow. It happens sometimes.
It's a phenomenal movie. Yeah.
Things get shelved, but they come out fantastic. I mean, we talked about it before. Sleep, Dope Smoker. Hey, it took a while, and then all of a sudden, but kaboom, and that's the way it goes.
It was there.
Yeah,
just like this record, it's now here.
Yeah, let's compare those together.
And why not, sir? Why not? From Oceanside, California, where rock and roll lives, and they aim to bring you the best of the best. It's Glory or Death Records with About Your Master Series, Volume 1, Thin Lizzy, Volume 2, Deep Purple. And we just had these people roll through town and crush it. Formula 400, their latest released Heathens, is out now on Glory or Death Records. Just got a killer variant of it. I know they're kind of like a mystery variant, but you're going to want to go check it out. Head over to Glory or Death Records and defend the faith. Albuquerque, New Mexico has a record label that focuses on desert rock, doom metal, stoner rock, psychedelic rock, heavy metal, and experimental music. It's Desert Records. You're going to want to head over there, desertrecords.us. You can also see them on Bandcamp and purchase some of the latest releases like Grim Earth, The Misery Men, The Grawl Brothers, The Angelus, Dizygote, Sorsha, Redbeard Wall, Doors to Nowhere, Book of Worms, who we recently had on the podcast, and so many more. They also have a tiered subscription service. So, I mean, isn't it obvious? Yeah, it's time. Go to desertrecords.us and enter the desert.
We can move forward because the next one, honestly, we were just talking about earlier, and I'm so excited about how it turned out. It's called Burned My Tongue on the Sun.
Okay.
In this song, so we mentioned that we went up to the woods. It was actually at my family's house, at my Uncle Pickle's house. And it was right after my aunt had passed away. And which again goes towards the theme of loss and love throughout all of these things.
Right.
In that being in space in a particular moment and, you know, coming back together.
Mm-hmm.
And so we were kind of camped out for 4 days up there at my uncle's spot. And we decided that we wanted to, as we were tracking all these tunes, we were like, we have so many songs that we've been playing for a really long time, but we're dying to do something new that we haven't done before. As much as we love these songs, we gotta do something new. So we made it a mission that we were gonna write and record a song during this session that was unique to just that moment in time.
Okay.
And that involved a bottle of red wine and a Fender Rhodes, and some bowed cymbals and literally nuts and bolts off the drum set being thrown on the ground, and just sort of this late night writing session. I think Van wrote most of the lyrics, but we were kind of like riffing off of each other, and we just did it all in one breath in one night. And there's even a storm that we captured during the sessions that Chris, the person who recorded our record, Chris Sampson of Sampson Sound, had recorded for us, because we asked him to just record this one night, and we had actually almost forgotten about it. And he was like, well, didn't you ask me to record this storm last night? Let's put that on there. And we're like, oh yeah, that storm, awesome, thank you for recording that, Chris, and yes, we'd love it to be on there. But it's the only song on this entire record that we also did not touch at all after that moment, other than mixing it.
Mm-hmm.
Like no overdubs, nothing, just like straight that moment.
Was that
everything.
to guarantee that you've captured that moment, and anything else after that would have been a waste?
It just was done. Like, it was the weirdest. I've never, like, I feel like sometimes, you know, maybe like you're making a painting or something, and if you try to go back and touch it up, it's worse.
Right.
Like, there's no, like, walking away from that one, it was like, oh, that one we don't touch. Like, that one's fucking done. Like, just mix it. Like, it's, and like all of it was like in that moment, and it became a really cool kind of guiding part of the story that we were putting together too. So it's kind of interesting how it fell together.
So would you say that that was the one that took the least amount of time?
Yeah.
Yes,
Most definitely. Yeah.
definitely. Yeah, it was like maybe 6 hours beginning to finish with cooking dinner and, you know, opening the bottle of wine. Yeah, and maybe a glass of scotch. And then, you know, everything had already been set up, and we were just settled in. And we started, I would say that we probably started around like 8 o'clock at night and finished by about 2 a.m. But it also had that, like, you know, just being in the nighttime, which is when we mostly come alive, especially as buzzards.
Yes. And doom tumors too. Yeah. Same thing here. So before we continue, I don't think I'm not forgetting this. Uncle Pickles?
Yeah. So my Uncle Pickle, not Pickles like the death metal dog.
Pickles?
But he's actually one of the greatest influences on my musical career, and that he's always supported me in that instance. He's given me a lot of the instruments that I played, and he's a luthier. He makes a lot of acoustic instruments, but he made one electric guitar for me that I call my Pickle Paul, because it's a Les Paul clone. And I made, obviously, that guitar is all over this record and was up there for those sessions and everything else. but yeah, Uncle Pickle. And the name came from because when we were all younger, on his land out there, he'd grow a bunch of cucumbers and pickled them.
Now, if you have a choice, top three, from least to most, of course. Top three pickles that are your favorite, please.
Kelly's Death Pickles.
Nice.
Molly Pose.
These are good. These are good plugs. We have two close friends that are pickle makers.
Yeah.
Well, let's talk about
You
it.
can believe it. And we've also sold Buzzard pickles on tour that were fantastic. Different habanero ones. If you're gonna ask me, I'm gonna have to go with a generality of a real Jewish dill pickle,
Right.
like one that you would get at a Jewish deli.
He's got seeds and stuff in there.
And according to Uncle Pickle, if you put vinegar in with your pickles, which is going to be completely counterintuitive to our friends, is no longer any dill pickle that he will mess with. It has to be a saltwater brine strictly, which is the way that you would traditionally do like that Manhattan Jewish dill.
Wow, because I make pickles myself, and I do all kinds.
Wow.
Yeah, we've got our talents, and I was going to get some new pickles, and I always thought white vinegar. No,
I love vinegar and pickles, but yeah, the traditional way is the salt water brine. With some pickling, seasoning if you want, like the different seeds that you can pop in there and stuff like that. And the dill, obviously, is the herb. And my favorite is a half sour, which is not fully pickled, right? So it's like really bright and a young pickle.
Yeah, you got to open it up and
check.
check.
A lot of experience with pickles here.
Check the garbage on the top. Maybe scrape a little of that off to make sure it's all good. Yeah, I've done those too.
Yeah.
All right, so those are your pickles. From yes. Well, all right. Let me continue here. So now your friends that make the pickles, give them a shout out, please, so we can.
Yeah, absolutely. It would be my pleasure. It is Kelly Hester. He makes Kelly's Death Pickles. He essentially does it for a lot of different bands, touring acts and things here local in Atlanta, where he makes them their own labeled limited edition pickles to sell at shows.
Sure.
We've taken them on runs and it's huge. Our other friend, Molly, she does Molly P's Party Pickles.
Molly Pose Party Pickles.
But it's Molly P's Party Pickles. Anyway,
okay.
She's a good friend too, and she's in the band Amigo actually. But she's when we go, what town is that?
She's up in Charlotte.
Thank you.
Right.
We go to Charlotte every time we go hang out with her. Her and her husband are a real blast. But like last time we rolled through, we like started setting out our pickles on our counter, and the bartender was like, "Hey man, like." There's a pickle person here that we're homies with, and we're not really super sure about you selling outsider pickles. And I was like, is her name Molly? And he was like, fuck. And I was like, yeah, we're good. Like, don't worry about it.
I know. I can understand a pickle controversy can really dampen a night. And
which is great because they both have sent each other pickles and like secret messages too. Like, the kind of like the joking, like my pickle's better than yours kind of message, but they're close friends because of the pickle music connection between Charlotte and Atlanta.
And I would love to put you in touch with our Pickle Pals, actually.
Hey, I'm all down for that. Please send me the links. I have it written down. Cool. After we get off the horn here, we'll have to discuss all things pickle. And I think we should continue with the album. With the next track, what do you got?
Sure. Next up is In the Movies. It's kind of a fun one. It's a kind of slide heavy. We've got some cellos in it. Got some tablas. It gets out there.
Right.
Outside groove.
Yeah, it comes from like the turn of phrase, like "I'll see you in the movies," right?
Gotcha.
And it came from that kind of thing. And people come and go in your lives, and we'd had quite a few of those experiences. Whether or not at the time, I think we were kind of feeling fed up. And this is cool too because we had recorded this song many times over before it made it to this iteration.
Right.
And it's definitely about less so of like oh, screw you, I'll see you later, but just kind of that thing like, hey kid, I'll see you in the movies, you know, I'll see you around. And it's on the back end of the record because of that.
Right.
We had always envisioned closing with this song, and it kind of tickles me that we put it like second to last. I don't know, in some way we always write these internal jokes that never make it out to other people, and I feel like it's almost one more part of this of the grand comedy of life.
The Funyun.
Now I'm curious because of everything that we've been going through. When was this written?
The song itself, 10 years ago.
Really?
Yeah.
Because
it is insane how much, like when we had to go back and, because again, so long story short, we recorded this 3 years ago. We toured our butts off trying to while we were doing overdubs and trying to pay for the record. And then at the end of it, I needed a break, a mental health break. So we took months off and then everything shut down.
Right.
And then somewhere in the middle of that, Chris Sampson hit me up and was like, you all have home rigs. Can you just do these final overdubs from your house and send them to me? And I kind of patched my head back together and said, okay, I can do that. And so I sent him stuff, and once he started sending mixes back and everything started, but we had to put our heads back on what are these songs about to talk about them even. And It was crazy how all the themes were so in sync with what everybody's been going through, all these loss and isolation and the need to look outward for a new start, a way to look after each other and be cool with one another. And I don't know, it is kind of wild. I mean, these are just, it's definitely not prophetic or anything. It's just, I think everybody it's the same with all the zombie movies that came out. I think people were feeling like dystopia is kind of around the corner if we're not careful.
Right.
Some Ray Bradbury shit, really.
Well, the reason I'm asking is because, like I said, I think times haven't been great. They've been different over the past year and a half. And when you're talking, Ben, and you're talking about, friendship or I'll catch you around, kind of reminds me of that. I don't know if I'm probably butchering the saying, but it's something like you got friends for a reason and you got friends for a season. It's the way it goes. Some people are going to be around for the long haul, and some people are going to be in and out with a season. And I was curious I know, Van, you say prophetic, but it kind of is. I've seen that shit this year. I've seen it a lot. And you find out who cares more and who kind of yeah, whatever. It ain't that much to me. And it's really telling, don't you think?
Yeah, it's not only that, it's a little depressing, but I think, I try and grain of salt with everybody because no one's ever been through that.
Right.
No one's ever had to be worried about seeing, I didn't see Ben, not only for my little break, but then even when we were ready to go again, he was having a baby, and I didn't want to go up in his house during a pandemic around his wife or their child.
Right.
The people have their own kind of reasons for keeping a little bit of distance, but it is kind of beautiful if they do come back around.
And I think in part on a more positive side, it's not that it's uniquely all roses and blue skies, but the universe has a way of correcting itself when it's out of balance.
Right.
And I kind of feel like a lot of these tunes kind of speak to that as well. Is these were our mantras.
Mm-hmm.
These are the kinds of things that we had already laid the groundwork for, which is why, and I'm kind of like pushing into Lonely in Space now, which is the last track, and we talked about it some.
Yeah.
And why I think we should kind of go back to it now too is very pertinent in talking about that. This was the song that started at least the concept of all of us playing together.
Right.
And this has been this returning mantra over the past, like I said, 14, 15 years or however long it's existed. And it's a reminder of these things that help us get through. The song itself is living. It'll live beyond us, and it continues to live and to change and to grow. And you know, we came up against a really hard time, all as the entire world and everyone being isolated and that kind of thing. And they definitely fit into that narrative because they're part of our experience as we grow into that narrative.
Absolutely, man. Yeah. And listen, I mean, the music's great. You know that. I'm also interested in, well, I don't have the artwork in front of me right now. So can you go over that a little bit?
The album art?
Yeah.
Yeah, we were in Augusta.
Yeah, our friends live just across the river from Augusta, Georgia, in a small town called Aiken, South Carolina.
Aiken, yeah. There's the Georgia-South Carolina border, so it's like right there.
Yeah.
Super dear friends who own a farm out there. It was a golf course that they turned into a farm. But we were visiting our friend Laura Russo. She is a photographer, and she was kind enough to sit down and take these photos of us. They're not tintypes, but they have that kind of incredible feel to them, super high detailed images. And in any case, I spent a long time creating a font to go around the image.
Yeah, it's available right now if you on Spotify under the Buzzards of Fuzz. The artwork should come up.
I'm waiting. I'll check that out, and I'm waiting for it to come up on Bandcamp.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's as soon as we get off of here, I'll hit post. We were in the middle of doing that when we started talking to you.
Right on. I'm taking a look
down there at a place called Boondock Farms is what they ended up naming it. This is it's really great because Van does this amazing graphic design for not only us but a bunch of other bands in town.
Right.
And this was we had discussed with Chris too, had a lot of input in talking about like, I just want to see your name like huge on the record.
Okay.
But we also wanted to be focused on us, as these anthropomorphic bird people and those kinds of things. And what was so cool about this shot to me is Laura had shot each of us individually and then made a composite out of it.
Okay.
And on the back cover is like all of us all together. That's not depicted here. But yeah, it's kind of when we decided to go all black and white, we felt like it was kind of classic, but it also kind of has that nice like Lynchian feel, a little bit of a Fire Walk with Me meets Twin Peaks, but it's also kind of like Freaks or something like that.
Yeah, all right. I just pulled it up, and I feel like I've seen this. I feel I'm in a deja vu. I'm in the fucking Matrix. That's what it is. Okay. All right. So yeah, as I'm looking, I do get that vibe because there's something when there's black and white and when there's not black and white, and this is a little different. And you're right, as you said, Freaks. It resonated with me. that there is that, and there is, you know, even in the font, it's like, you know, we're here, and you know, it's big and it's powerful, and at the same time, seems like there's a little bit of fun with it as well.
That's Buzzards.
We are playful. Sometimes we like to be a little campy too, you know, and we like to get our jokes in. But yeah, I mean, I think it kind of captures everything that we were going for. Like you said, you know, we try to be serious at times, but also lighthearted, and we love weird shit.
Okay, well, thank you for that. Now, speaking of weird shit, so Van, and Ben, I'm assuming Ben, sci-fi guy as well.
Yeah, like in a certain sense, I definitely love some sci-fi movies.
He's more of a spaghetti western.
It's
Okay,
true.
yeah.
I mean, there's definitely like a number of sci-fis that I really love, and it's funny because it's usually the ones that are like the more thriller, spooky ones, where someone's just like alone by themselves on a spaceship or that kind of thing. But yeah, I will say I was actually watching a western last night. I'm all about the West and being out in the desert, and have made as many pilgrimages as possible as a Georgia boy surrounded by pines.
All right, let's have this discussion. Now I'm springing this, so please, if it takes time, that's okay. We got editing buttons here. Van, I wanted to say top 3 sci-fi, but how about this? Top 3 sci-fi movies that were better than the book.
Ooh, that's gonna be tough.
And if you need time to think, Van, I can move over to Ben and we can talk a little bit.
Okay. We might just do sci-fi movies because I think that it's rare that they're better than the book. I think it'd be a real short list. Because my imagination's better.
Understood. Okay. All right, so that's going to take a while. How about this? Top 3 sci-fi books.
Top 3 sci-fi books.
Yeah.
I did really, really enjoy Dark Tea Time for the Soul. It's one of the Dirk Gently ones. I've read a handful of the Predator books. I think that they kind of come off in an interesting. I like the whole. I don't know. I'm gonna get into AVP arguments. I enjoy those.
All right, ABP.
Yeah, we'll leave it there. I'll go with those top 2.
What's AVP?
Alien versus Predator.
Oh, sorry. Alien versus Predator.
AVP. Oh, I'm sorry. I apologize. Okay, yeah, it's the hearing.
Big acronym guy.
Yeah, my bad.
That's all right. No worries. Okay. Now, Ben, spaghetti westerns. You said it. Top 3.
Oh man. The first one that comes to mind that I really love is a Miike film. It's Sukiyaki Western to Django. And
Really?
Miike is sort of like Tarantino's idol.
Mm-hmm.
He has a lot of very graphic films. It's not a classic Western by any means, but it's like this take on spaghetti Westerns with samurais.
Okay.
Which is fantastic and also pretty heavy. I mean, it's very realistically graphic. So I got anybody that watches a Miike film has to get ready for like this is going to like hurt a little bit inside,
but it'll be worth it.
Yeah. And then after that, I always loved Pale Rider. I thought Pale Rider is fantastic.
Okay.
And maybe I'm trying to think like there's another really old Clint Eastwood movie where he just kind of comes into town and takes over. And I don't know, that's like Fistful of Dollars or something like that.
It's either A Fistful of Dollars or The Good, the Bad, and the Ugly.
Yeah, I was gonna say The Good,
for
Bad,
a few dollars
Ugly.
more too. I forgot about that.
A few dollars more is what I was watching last night, which is fantastic.
I love it.
So good. The villain in that is just like so freaky, man. He's just like a psycho villain in the middle of this sort of like, I guess they're on the border, right, between Mexico and Texas or something like that.
Exactly.
But yeah, I love stuff like that so much.
All right. Now, spaghetti westerns. Where does El Topo fit in and all that?
What's that?
Have you ever seen El Topo?
El Topo. No, I know what you're talking about though. Tell me more, please.
I started watching, haven't finished. It was from the same.
I know. It's Alejandro Jodorowsky, right?
Yes. The guy that made The Holy Mountain.
Yes.
Yeah. And
which is why Sleep did Holy Mountain.
Exactly. So I started watching it, but it was late and I just fell asleep and I'm like, I don't know. Do I want to go forward? Do I need to go forward? I was just curious if you had seen it, if you suggest it, but if you haven't seen it either, then
so our friend who used to just recently started playing bass with us, Claude, is a huge Jodorowsky fan, and I feel like any Jodorowsky film is nice to dig into. I mean, it can be a little bit challenging, and maybe that's not always what you're trying to do, especially after a long day, is like be challenged by a film. Right. But I do know that he was very much into tarot, and that kind of influenced the way that he made films. And because of El Topo, George Harrison and John Lennon like kind of fell in love with them, and George Harrison helped to produce Holy Mountain after El Topo. So they definitely found it a great value to them.
There's a lot going on in Holy Mountain. Thank you to the Buzzards of Fuzz. We got to have them on again because I think we're going to talk a little bit more about some music stuff, but on the other side, maybe booking some shows or maybe something else in that vein. Yeah, we got to do that sometime soon. But for now, well, I'm looking at track number 2 because, well, I'm out here. It's Sonoran living. Let's hear track 2 right now. This is Desert Drivin'. Thank you so much for sticking it out towards the end. It's doomtombpodcast@gmail.com. Thank you to Ian from No Masters Audio for doing all things sound for the Doom Tomb podcast. Ian, could you hit the music? Thank you. Also, Yucca Tap Room, we just did a show. It was Grail, Secrets of Lost Empires, and Formula 400. A fantastic night, killer tunes. All right, everyone, thank you so much. Hope you get out to those shows. Stay safe out there. Buy some of that band merch. And don't forget to stay heavy.